The final character, and arguably the most important one, is Ralph. As Ralph is the ego, he's the part of our mind that reconciles the primitive id with the newly developed and insecure superego, that aspect of our psyche. So Ralph finds himself in a relentless struggle between the panicked and crazed forces of Jack and the awkward and anxious yet wise advice of Piggy. So he recognizes the appeal of the savagery and of the relinquishing of moral duty and responsibility in favor of more primitive behavior. And so this culminates at the ritual murder of Simon, where Ralph finds himself helplessly participating in the slaughter. And unable to justify post hoc what he took part in, he recognizes that the influences of the id is both more powerful and anchored to our subconscious, so as to motivate behavior of which we are not even fully aware. And the relevant quote is, Piggy and Ralph, under the threat of the sky, found themselves eager to take a place in this demented but partly secure society, so appealing to our need for security. They were glad to touch the brown backs of the fence that hemmed in the terror and made it governable. And again, we're discussing sacrificing liberty for security. And so in the next quote, they walked along 2 continents of experience and feeling, unable to communicate, really gets to the heart of the issue. And so there's a very great difficulty in reconciling the ego with the id, and recognizing that one is always in conflict with the other. And recognizing that there's little at our disposal cognitively to reconcile these 2 aspects of our psyche, as we experience it all as a singular stream of consciousness, unifying the id, ego, and the superego. And so it can be difficult subjectively to distinguish between these 3 aspects, which is having what influence on our mind, what should we listen to, and how to proceed, because for us, consciousness is a holistic, continuous experience. And so we know that the id is innately human, whereas the ego is an attempt to move beyond what is most primitive about us. And the consideration of the superego must be learned, rehearsed, improved upon, and remembered, whereas the impulses of the id remain with us always, ready to arise in our behavior at any point. I'm next going to examine symbolism in Lord of the Flies and Golding's use of symbols to convey theme and to convey his message about the 3-part distinction of the human psyche. So the first symbol that we're going to be examining is the most widely recognizable symbol from the novel, and it is the conch shell. So the conch is emphasized in its importance by Golding's meticulous description of its appearance, and quotes, "In color the shell was deep cream, touched here and there with fading pink. Between the point, worn away into a little hole, and the pink lips of the mouth lay 18 inches of shell with a slight spiral twist and covered with a delicate embossed pattern." The conch goes on to be representative of their attempt to unify the 3 aspects and various sub-aspects of the human psyche into one harmonious enterprise, capable of considering the various contributions of each and moderated by the ego in order to further its goal of well-being by the superego and its ultimate goal of survival by the id. Ralph, as the ego in the story, first recognizes this need for harmony and for the importance of considering the contributions of both the id and the superego to this collective project of survival on the island. By its very nature, as the fundamental underpinning of the human psyche, the id is a necessity. It ensures that we do not lose all our time lost in vain, abstract pursuits, and that we satisfy our fundamental needs. And although Ralph ultimately fails, we see throughout the book that the conch provided occasional glimpses of hope. And its importance is really evidenced when Jack resolves to destroy it and to take charge in Ralph's place at the head of the tribes. He says, "We don't need the conch anymore. We know who ought to say things. What good did Simon do speaking, or Bill, or Walter? It's time some people knew they've got to keep quiet and leave deciding things to the rest of us." And this moment, late in Chapter 6, revealed to us Jack's most explicit authoritarian sentiment and foreshadowed the imminent conflicts to come between the pair of Ralph and Jack in the form of the ego confronting the id. The second symbol, not widely as recognized, but certainly just as important, are Piggy's glasses. His glasses represent at once the necessity of the superego and its fragility. They are required to guide Piggy in all of his dealings. He spends many lines deploring the boys for their treatments of his spectacles, continuing to emphasize their importance and necessity. They can be seen as a metaphor for not only clear vision, but clear thinking and rationality. When they are lost, so is Piggy, the superego's ability to function within the society and to contribute. And yet they are quickly destroyed by Jack, the id, who recognizes this vulnerability of the superegos. This shows an incessant conflict between the motives of the superego and the instinctual gripes of the id in the cognitive processes of the mind. And as the boys' last remnants of civilization, the breaking of the glasses early on foreshadows a grim and austere confrontation between the ego and the id, now that the superego is no longer functional, no longer able to contribute now that his glasses have been destroyed. The final symbol is the island beastie. The vivid imagery of the island beastie is used by Golding to convey a fundamental psychological irony. And so the id is very susceptible to paranoia and fear of the dark, or what it considers to be a fear of the dark and of the unknown. And in doing so, it manifests itself in the form of the same beastie that it fears, not recognizing that the original fear was itself an internal one, not due to the circumstances outside, but due to the potential within us for evil, of which we are only vaguely aware as children, in more subconscious areas of our mind. And so in revealing that the children do indeed become what they fear, savage, killing, dangerous monsters, we recognize that the initial inclination to be fearful in the first place is a fear of what is unknown within us and not outside. And so we can see why, over the many decades that this book has been published, that it has remained an in-demand and widely praised classic by professors and students alike. It speaks to an essential psychological conflict that we all take part in merely by existing in a society that looks to regulate behavior, promoting some kinds of it and punishing others. We all have to recognize these aspects of our psyche, firstly at a personal level, and then, if we truly wish to look ahead towards a better future, at a societal and political one as well.